A noise scrunched under his head, remembering Posh's words. He delved beneath his pillow and pulled out a large brown envelope. David Howard was written in neat flowery blue ink across the front. He looked back at the photograph. His face darkened, remembering the letter Tara had sent him all those years ago, the one he'd read alone on his school dorm bed, the one that politely rejected his outpouring of love, the one that broke his heart. With a sense of foreboding, he jumped up and moved to the window. He turned the envelope in his hands, scrutinizing it in the daylight that crept through bars. Summoning courage, he tore into it and peered inside. It looked like old photographs. Gingerly sliding the images out into the light, his eyes widened and his heart slowed. They were grainy black and white photos, a little out of focus, but it was clear what was going on. He squinted closer, not quite believing as he sifted through the first images, then more and more. He began to shake, scrunching eyes tight shut like a little boy not wanting to see any more. Throwing his head back, open-mouthed, he sucked a lungful of air and let out an agonizing wail. The photographs fell to the floor. He tore at his clothes and dropped to his knees. A second wail bellowed. Outside, a warden, hearing the cries, ran the length of the balcony to David's door and pushed it open. "What's going on in here?" he demanded. David was on the floor, surrounded with pictures, head in hand, sobbing, rocking backwards and forwards, smashing his forehead against stone over and over again. Crimson blood splashed floor, walls and clothing, and trickled his face and hands. David was back in his school dorm the day his mother died, smashing his head against a blood-stained wall. "No!" he cried. The warden stepped closer, unsure what to do. Hovering over him, he looked down at the photographs and winced. A scared little boy with a mop of dark curly hair stood naked, surrounded by 4 older boys in a semicircle, laughing, cocks in hand, aroused. David had met Posh before. The warden felt a whoosh of air and a rustling. He looked around the small cell. "What the hell was that?" "There's nothing." Shaking his head, mumbling it was time he took some leave, he scooped up the images and shoved them back into the envelope, leaving it on David's table. He reached down and placed a consoling hand on David's heaving shoulder. In that moment he felt a foreboding. An energy had been set in motion. One of the 2 men would now die. He shook his head, secretly hoping that it would be Posh. At least David's victims deserved it, whereas Posh was a cruel, entitled narcissist who had people killed for pleasure, using his wealth and well-placed contacts to bend the system and get away with it. That wasn't fair.